We recently had Mohammed Ramadan, Mo the lawyer, on the show, and he talked about guerrilla marketing, and he does really well on TikTok too. And I wanted to kind of dive in on these strategies because what have you seen? What have you seen that works? How would you guide someone that wants to build a presence there?
So there is no secret sauce recipe, in my opinion, and you do have to kind of experiment and explore what works for you because what works for me may not work for Mo because he has a different style, and it's kind of like lawyering. If you go see this like really sleek, slick back lawyer who's like real fancy, and if that's not you and you're trying to sell that, nobody's buying it. It's not genuine. So first, I think you have to find if someone wants to find growth on social media, you have to be genuine and authentic in it because today's consumer, or whether it's like they're watching videos or going to a store, their BS meter is on point. And so if you aren't genuine and authentic, they pick up on that instant ick. They don't like that. I think that's step number one is you have to know who you are, and it's hard to find. If you go back to my old videos, they suck. I didn't know what I was doing. I figured it out as I went, and it kind of developed into being more comfortable, knowing how I like my hook, and the algorithm is constantly changing too. So you have to be able to adapt. You have to be okay with experimenting with your clips and looking stupid. You have to be okay with like a little bit of self-depreciation by making videos because they're not all going to be great. Some of them are going to flop. Some of them, 500 people might see or 5. And so I think the most important thing that people don't do correctly is they're like making videos for the views. For my content, I don't need 1 million people to see it. I need one person who was wrongfully fired, and now I've got a client. And so if you can speak specifically and genuinely and not be so much like, this is the Paige show. I don't like to do things like that. I'm very down to earth, simple, no frills. This is what it is. And I'd like to say it simply. So if you can pick your ideal client, this is my advice. Pick your ideal client. What do you want to bring in? If you're a PI lawyer, you want to bring in trucking cases, talk to someone who just got hit by a truck. They're scared. They don't know what to do. You don't need to show these like checks and big numbers and like crazy things. You just need to talk to like what someone's looking up, and that'll resonate with them. That's what has led, I believe, to all of my successes. I'm talking to that person who was just wrongfully fired. They don't know what to do. They've never applied for unemployment before, and they're freaking out because they don't know how they're going to pay their mortgage. So if you can gear your videos to your target audience, that's, I think, why mine took off. It's hard too because with lawyers, we always care what everybody else thinks. And you were saying, a lot of people are trying to crack the code for social media. I got a lot of pushback on that when I first started doing it at the beginning of the pandemic. I had local lawyers reach out to me and kind of softly threaten bar complaints because they didn't think I should be doing this. And I had a lot of pushback. And so my lawyer friends were, I'm like, why aren't you making videos? You're missing the bus. They are so afraid of what other lawyers think of them. And so if someone can get over that hurdle and get into like the who cares, I don't care what it looks. And what's funny is like those lawyers that reached out to me and were like, hey, I think you're violating these rules. And I wasn't. I was doing the disclaimers and everything as required. They're now making videos asking for help. So like everybody is shifting that way. I know when I got that message, I was like, that I'm not going to lie. That made me like some kind of sick pleasure. I was like, oh, you want to make videos now? But if you can shift from, not caring what everyone else thinks, it's kind of like freedom because then you can make the goofy, funny content if you want. It's kind of therapeutic. It goes back into that genuine category where you have to enjoy what you're making in order for someone to watch it and enjoy it. And so, back to experimenting, do non-traditional things. I mean, there's lawyers doing TikTok dances. I don't do that because I'm not a good dancer. But if I was good at it and it sold things, I'd be out there doing the next trend too. And so the unconventional part, it's interesting, but it comes full circle is like everyone who's just now starting, they're late. It's not too late to do it, but you've got to do a lot of work right now to catch back up because the algorithm, the views, everything is totally different than it was a couple years ago when all of this really first took off. So now you've got to work harder.